Well, good morning and welcome to Move Early, Move Often. It is Wobbly Wednesday. I am Blake Martin. Wobbly Wednesday. It's a day when we deal with all things wobbly and balance, look at balance, core strength, and a few other things. Well, there's a video that's kind of gone viral TikTok wise, and it's this center of gravity challenge. And what it sees you do, I'll show you in a minute, is it compares whether men or women can do a particular movement, and in this case, women can do it. So I'm going to show you the movement, and then we're going to play with the movement. We're not going to do it because it's pretty simple, but playing with the movement, we can learn a few things, and we can work on developing our own balance wherever we are, regardless. So the balance is like the challenge is like this. Here, better start my little timer. Um, what you do is you come down onto your hands and knees. You place your hands, your elbows out like this, and then you withdraw your hands. And men will typically fall on their faces. Women are able to get their hands behind their back. And so obviously this has to do with where your center of gravity is. And men tend to have their center of gravity higher, closer to their chests. And women have their center of gravity typically lower, closer to their hips. So it's not really miraculous. It's like taking an egg and trying to balance it on its head versus balance it on its bottom. It's going to be harder to balance it on its head. So we're not going to actually do that today because, well, you can do it if you want. You can try it and do it with your partner and show if you have a lower center of gravity, you can show that you're better at balance. But you're not. You're just better at having a lower center of gravity. So, but what we are going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to take the tall kneeling posture, and we're going to stand on our mats and just bring your feet off the mat. So you're just lifting your feet off the mat. Put them back down, hips forward, feet off the mat, and lean your chest forward just a little bit so that you feel like you might fall forward. It's okay if you do, just put your hands down. And now what I want you to do is just bring your hands slowly forward. And eventually you'll want to fall forward. So just do that a few times. Standing tall standing is tall kneeling, what they call tall kneeling. Lift your feet just off the mat, push your hips forward, arms down, and bring your arms forward until you start kind of tipping forward. All right, part 2 of this whole thing that we're doing. Let's come down so that our torso is more or less on the horizon line, parallel with the horizon, parallel with horizontal, or parallel with the floor. Now, depending on where your center of gravity is, you may have to shift your hip back towards your heels or move it a little bit further forward, but just get into, so you're kind of like a letter Z. Letter Z if you're from the United States. You don't have to do a Z. And lift your toes so that you're just balanced here. And move your hands down. You'll notice that as your hands go further away from your hips, like closer towards the front, that you'll start tipping more. And as you do that, just bring your weight back. Move your hips back further so that you can maintain your balance. So we're oscillating between where our hips are and where our hands are. And just kind of keeping our letter Z intact. So now what we're doing is we're seeing that our center of gravity is affected both by where our hands are and where our hips are in the anterior posterior plane. So as we move forward and back. All right, so coming back into our Z, just watch for a second. what we're going to do is we're going to try and keep our feet off the mat and stay forward, and we're going to try to come to a tall standing without falling forward. So I'm just trying to straighten up, keeping my forward-backward balance. My feet are off the mat. I'm trying to keep my tall balance. So come down into our Z, feet off the mat, hands low and behind you. And now you're going to try to stand, come to tall kneeling. Just keep that forward-backward balance. Just stay on the edge of the cliff. You should almost be falling over at all times, and you're just kind of holding it back. All right, tall. And you can put your feet down and just rest for a second. Wiggle your hips from side to side. Lift your feet again. And let's go from the tall kneeling down into the Z. So your weight is just slightly forward. You should almost feel like you're falling forward. And we're folding into the Z. As you're coming down typically, at least at first, and I fell. All right. Let's do that one more time. Regular version. So we're going to go from our Z to tall kneeling and back down again, right? So come into the Z, lift your toes off the mat. So you're kind of on a forward-backward balance with your knees. Back is straight. And you're gradually bringing your shoulders up and your hips forward to tall standing, tall kneeling. Staying on the edge of balance there. And back down again towards Z. And we're playing within our own center of gravity. There we go. All right. Once you're back down, we're going to try exactly the same thing again. Only we're going to take away one of our really, really reliable and useful balancing mechanisms, our sight. So we'll do the same challenge again, and this time we'll close our eyes. Now, it's going to be more difficult because you don't have the visual cues for where you should be. Plus, the backs of your toes are going to be off the floor. You're not going to have as clear an understanding of where your feet are relative to the floor. So coming down into your Z position here, close your eyes, and already you'll notice that the balancing is more challenging. So your toes lifted off the mat, hips are coming forward, shoulders are rising. Stay on the edge of the cliff here, balance-wise. Hips all the way forward, hips pushing right through. Shoulders all the way tall. And then coming back down again into our Z position. Put your hands down if you need to catch yourself. Try to maintain that anterior posterior balance. And again, I crashed. All right. Right? Let's do that one more time. Eyes closed from Z to tall standing back to Z. So get into your position, your Z position. Tuck your chin just slightly so that the back of your neck is nice and long. Close your eyes. And bring your hips forward and try to keep your toes off the mat. Nice and slow. Don't rush it. You don't want to miss any of the moments in your day. Hips all the way through. Shoulders tall. Tall kneeling. Now folding. Chest comes forward. Hips have to move back in counterbalance. Our arms are down to keep the point of balance further back. And I fell over again. That last 6 seconds, I really lose it. When you're done, come back. So, while you can't change where your center of mass is in your body, what you can do is you can change its relationship to the base of support. And that's what we're doing today. So if you really wanted to win this balance challenge and you're a male with a higher center of gravity, you bring your hips way back here and then just place your hands behind your back here. Because it has to do with where our center of mass is. If I have my hands up here, there's no way I can do it unless I shift my weight back. So we're always, when we're dealing with posterior anterior balance, we're dealing with shifting our hips and our shoulders relative to the base of the support. We minimize the base of support by lifting our knees, and we took away a lot of the proprioceptive cues by taking away the backs of our feet. And we just kind of used the balance mechanisms in our hips and shoulders and ears to know where we were. You moved early, you moved often. I wouldn't say that we've beaten the balance challenge, but we have played with it and we've learned a few things. At least I've learned a few things about where my center of balance is and where I start losing my center of balance. Try to have a good day as much as it's in your power, and we'll see you back tomorrow for Throwdown Thursday. Take care.